Every person has a story. Some shape us, some break us, and some help us heal. Join sisters Kim and Bibi as they explore mental health, trauma, relationships, and personal growth through honest conversations, lived experiences, and professional insights. Because understanding your story can change the way you live it. This is 8 Years to Live.
I had gone into a coma.
I would just say, Maria Shriver.
Yes, yes. Why do we have so many nicknames for each other?
That's a good question. Because medical trauma is one of the most under-recognized forms of trauma.
Who are you going to talk to when I die?
He's already telling you you've got 8 years to live.
Good morning. It's morning here.
It's morning here too. Bright and early, 8:30 in Pocatello, Idaho.
I was just going to say WWW.
I'm in my house in Pocatello. I'm by myself. Well, I'm with you and Colin. Colin's in the background. And I'm having my latte. And I'm recording a podcast. WWW.
I'm also having my latte. And I'm at home. I'm recording a podcast with JoJo and Colin in the background in my house. I don't know if I already said that.
In Las Vegas.
That's right. You know what I was thinking about the other day? And I think we were kind of talking about it, but it just made me start to going down a rabbit hole about birth order. And I know that we've said like JoJo's the youngest, you're the favorite. And I started just kind of paying attention. I have this client who she's doing neurofeedback for ADHD and she brought her 3 kids in. And so I just was observing as I do. And the oldest seemed kind of quieter. The middle one was more rambunctious. He was asking me a lot of questions, asking if I wanted to play. And then the youngest one was just kind of all over the place. And I thought, I wonder if there is something to this. And then I started analyzing our family, of course. And I thought, is this how it played out? Because the older one, like I almost thought he was sleepy. I don't know if that's just quieter. And so I thought Mel, who's the oldest in our family, he was also quieter. And then I was louder. And then you, the youngest, were
all over the place. Still am. That's hilarious. I've actually been, somebody told me that years ago. They said, oh, you must be the youngest. I thought, do I give youngest sibling vibes? Like, that kind of doesn't make me feel good because I imagine like self-entitled or entitled? I don't know what the word is, but you know what I mean? Like I expect things to be handed over to me. And she said, no, actually.
Okay, how did you come up with that? Like, how did you think that, that things had been handed? What was it? Why that thought?
Because I think that about youngest siblings, like, oh, they expect everything to be handed to them. They are spoiled, which I think that's a typical thought for youngest. Like the oldest ones have it hard. They're like the parents' guinea pigs. Then the youngest ones, it's like, you can do whatever you want. You can go anywhere you want. But what this person meant, she said, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat this morning. She said the youngest siblings are usually the most playful.
Ooh.
She said they're playful, they joke, they're easygoing. I thought, wow, that's not typically what I hear. I thought that's pretty observant. So that's funny, like all over the place. Yeah, because I'm mostly goofy, I would say. I can be serious, but it's different. I'm a little bit more all over the place than serious.
Yes. And it just made me think, like, is there science behind this? Does temperament play into it? Does, like, what's going on in the family? Like, what does that look like? And is there a pattern? I'm always looking for patterns. And I thought, then culture, like, how does culture play into it? Our culture Mexican, and then culture in America, what does that look like? And I think we said that in the last episode or maybe you and I were just talking about it, where typically the first one is the responsible one, the go-getter, And I can kind of see that for most firstborns, where they're surrounded by adults for the first few years in their lives, typically, if there's 2 years in between kids or whatever. But that really wasn't the case for us, would you think? Or how did you see that?
As far as like being surrounded by adults?
As far as like the first one being, the go-getter, or how
Oh.
come, like, what's
I
your
would
thought on that?
say in our family, like you're saying, culture plays a part and just, yeah, the age order. So I think like our brother, because he was the firstborn and a boy, I think that made a difference. I would say he was like more sleepy, like you said. He would just kind of do as he was told. And I think with you, you were almost like the firstborn where you were the responsible one. I think our parents, I don't know if they expected perfection, but I think parents in general with the firstborn have very high standards. Like, oh, my kid is going to do this. My kid's going to be an athlete. My kid's going to place or get good grades. Where I think that was more you than our actual oldest sibling because he's a boy and he got different privileges, but also got maybe harsher punishments. So I think with you that I see that playing out where you were always like the go-getter. You got good grades, you did play sports, and you kind of set the bar versus our brother setting the bar. Does that make sense? Does that answer your
Yes.
question?
Yes. And I'm just playing it out in my head as you're describing it, playing it out. How was it when we were kids? Why was I the one that set the bar? And I think too, yes, firstborn in a Mexican family and male, all the privileges. He's the king, the favored immediately, especially by the mom. And I also think I set the bar because then there was 3 girls after me. So he may have been the one that had the privileges, and typically they have the authority, like the male sons have the authority. But because he was quieter, or his temperament, I think, played a role in it. And my temperament is not quiet.
Yeah, so if he would have had your temperament, he maybe would have had the expectations of us to also treat him like a king, but he didn't because he was so maybe mild-mannered.
Yeah. And like, even as we're talking, like, he's mild-mannered, I'm more of the go-getter, it makes me think of the color code.
Oh,
And so it's colorcode.com, and I want us to do the color code on the podcast to see, to go through the questions again and just go through the different temperaments and personalities. But so according to the color code, there's 4 colors, which includes kind of 4 temperaments. It's kind of like the Enneagram, but simplified. So it's white, red, yellow, and blue. He's white and you're white. Okay, so tell me about the white temperament according to the color code. Do you remember?
kind of. Yeah, I would also equate that with like being phlegmatic. So there's also words that go with him like choleric, phlegmatic, sanguine, and I don't remember the fourth. So each word goes with a different color. White, phlegmatic, which sometimes green is used for that too. We are pretty mild-mannered, go with the flow. I would say very type B personality, not type A. Like things do not have to be in order. I usually am, I would say, attracted to type A's because I'm so type B. Nothing's in order. I'm all over the place. But we're very, I would say, slow to speak or just reserved, a lot of internal processing. I feel like we don't get shaken easily. And I also feel like we dig our heels in quite a bit. So there's a lot of pros, a lot of cons, like with any personality. So I would say it's like, meh. If someone hurts us, it's meh, until it's like a big deal. next thing you know, our heels are digging in and we are starting to boil over. I would say that's kind of whereas like uh melancholic, which would be blue, they're emotional in every way. Every emotion is heightened. Where me, my emotions don't typically get stirred easily. And then choleric, is that red? Is that what you are?
I think so.
Choleric. That's
I think.
like, I would say fire hydrant. Like any little spark of anything, fire hydrant, which
Full
we
of
can
passion.
also, yes, there's different, like you can think of it in so many different ways. Bodies of water. So mine is very like a stream, very flowy. So that was our brother and I. And I don't know if our other siblings, but for sure he and I. Extreme.
Yes. Yes. And I think too, like every color has a motive. And so white, your motive is peace. And so that's what drives you. And so that's why you don't want to rock the boat, because then it's going to disturb the peace. And then yellow, I don't know what the yellow term is
Sanguine.
according to sanguine. Okay. So yellow or sanguine, their core motive is fun. Red, choleric, our core motive is power. Power as in, how can I get the power to get from A to B? And then the blue, which is what did you say, the
Melancholic or
melancholic?
melancholy.
So their core connection or core motivation is connection. So driven by emotion. And so I think that also played into like birth order and his response to the world and my response to the world. And I think that's why you and I kind of have connected in the way that we have, because we are polar opposites. I'm getting us from A to B, and you want to just go like, sure, I'll go do whatever. And yeah, I think that's huge in birth order.
I agree. And then with maybe, I don't know if other siblings necessarily, but with other people, they don't just want to go with the flow. They have their own plan, which makes sense. But I agree, that's why you and I do get along so well, because you maybe are used to, or it's natural for you to call the shots. And for me, I'm used to, it's natural for me to follow the shots. Do this, let's do it. And
Yeah.
I said earlier, I'm so white or phlegmatic. I have a lot of sanguine, a lot of like fun. So you call the shots. If it's fun, I'm in. If it's emotional, I don't know. So
Which,
yes, if it's you,
which
because
fits.
yes, your other half is sanguine. So you call
Yes.
the shots and want to have fun. Tell me what to do and let's have fun. There's no better pair for me.
Yes. I totally agree. And I think that just really plays into how you became the favorite, let's say. Because, that's interesting, because the two whites are the favorites of Ma, our mother.
You know why?
Yes,
Because she
because,
is also choleric. She calls the
yes, she's,
shots, and we're like,
she's also red.
okay. Our dad, he calls the shots. Okay. May not be fun, but we're being told what to do. We're just going to follow suit. We want to keep the
Yeah.
peace. We'll keep the peace. Don't rock the boat. I don't know if I had put that together.
No, and something else that's just coming to mind right now, reds like to be challenged. And so when we're not challenged and someone is just like, they don't have leadership qualities and they're supposed to be a leader, like it drives us nuts. It's like, okay, if you're not going to be a leader, step aside, I'll take over, I'll be the leader. I don't always want to be the leader, but if there's no leadership, then I'll take over. And I think that's why our dad didn't, he expected his son to have leadership qualities, I think.
Right. Dang.
And then when he wasn't, he didn't like, our father didn't like that. And so he
Right.
saw the leadership qualities in me and just kind of fed that. And so I think that part of me and birth order really fueled who I became, and it fueled who you became too.
Nature and nurture.
Yes.
In our
That's just
nature,
crazy. ...
with the nurture, ... And here we
Yeah.
are.
And I think it doesn't have to define us. I mean, yes, I am a very passionate person, and I naturally do want to take over. I don't feel that I have to. So, but then it was just fed, or, it was brought to life even more with the order that I was in and that you were in, because me being second born and then having 3 siblings later, my parents used me, go tell them what to do. And then that's how I became parentified. Isn't that interesting? It
So
all played
interesting.
into it.
Yes, and I'm sure people can relate with that, with either being the oldest, the youngest, or the culture, or even so it was our brother and you, about 2 years apart, 5-year gap, and then our sister, 2 years apart, other sister, 2 years apart, me. So even that, there was a different dynamic, because it was almost like our parents had 2 kids, and that was a family. And then 5 years later, they had 3 kids, and that was a family. So even though we were all under the same roof, under the same parents, it looked so different because of how, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of something else. The 3 youngest, so the oldest of us 3, I would also say is phlegmatic, or partially phlegmatic, where she also didn't seem like the oldest of the 3. It was our next sibling, because she is choleric. She seemed like the oldest of us 3. So it's almost like the same thing happened twice, with the first set of kids and with the second set of kids.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
that is crazy. That's so crazy. Because then I think also the second set of the family, the first one of the second, she's also the middle child. So it's almost like that middle child got lost. And that's, what they say with the middle child. It's like, oh, they're not seen, they're forgotten. And so it was almost like a dual role. She was a middle child, but she was also kind of the oldest, but not. And so then the second one, who's also a middle child of the 3, but of the 5. Oh my gosh. So many
I know.
layers.
Yes, exactly. Things I had thought about, but not really. I've always thought that there's a separation.
Yeah.
Like we've said, the 2 oldest, the 3 youngest, but not to the similar, paralleling them. I didn't realize it was a whole thing. And it might have to
Yeah.
do with birth order
Right.
in that, all of the things. I don't even
I
have the
think so
words.
too. Yes. All the things. I think it's so layered and so complex that, yes, there could be a pattern, and there could also not be a pattern. I don't know. It's crazy. But it just brings me back to, then now you are the youngest of all of us, whether we're the first family or, the first set of kids, the second set of kids, you're still the youngest. And so what was it like to be the youngest?
I would say I had a lot of traditional things, as far as being the youngest, like the attention, the special treatment, maybe. And that's complicated because of what we talked about in the previous episode, because I was so sick and so deathly ill, but I'm sure that played a huge part. But I do think, if you asked any one of our siblings, it would be, oh yeah, Bibi's always gotten more attention, more of a desire, I guess. Like our mom will ask about me, I would say probably more than anyone. Where's Bibi? What's Bibi doing? Why isn't Bibi here? Currently, yeah. Or if she wants someone to do something with, I would say typically it would be me. So I think I would say that was and is what it's been like to be the youngest in our family. I would also say, so that I would say was our parents and your guys' perspective. My perspective, I guess, I don't really know. Like, what was it like to be the youngest? Okay, so I would say part of it would be um having a lot of guilt, like, or like survivor's guilt, and maybe guilt because I realized and acknowledged that I was getting things that you guys weren't. So I would say that for sure has been a thing. Like, shoot, that's too bad that we're all in the same room and our mom is saying, "Oh, why don't you guys do this like Bibi?" Or "Bibi just started doing this. Bibi just bought this makeup. Bibi, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like this is uncomfy. I don't want to be the person that everyone's being compared to." So that I would say I'm sure people can relate with that if they're the youngest.
Was it always like that? Because I don't remember it being like that before you got sick, but I was so in my head at that time prior to you getting sick. Like I was just so I isolated myself. So I wonder, did you feel the guilt or did you get special treatment prior to you getting sick?
That's a good question. I would say yes. Yes, because I'm just thinking of like I was always the one sitting on our mom's lap. I was like when everyone else started going to school and I was at home, I would get I would get sometimes your guys' things. Like if I said, "Oh, I like this notebook," our mom would be like, "You can have it. It's yours." I'd be like, "But it says that it's my sister's." "That's okay. We'll just scratch that out and write your name on it." So I would
I remember that.
definitely, like, I would say yes, I did get special treatment. I think because I was the last, she wanted to cling on to me being the baby. I think it looked different once I got sick. And there is a big part of my childhood that I would say I don't really remember because it was so in competition to being treated like we're going to keep you alive. Like, is that favor or is that just desperation?
I do remember the notebook thing, coming home and finding my notebook and you claiming that it was yours. I'm like, "This is not yours. This is mine." And you would open it and show it to me. It's got my
Oh
name on
my
it.
gosh. Yes, which I think, of course, any sibling would be upset at me. Like, why would you steal my stuff? I don't know. Our mom said I could, or she said I could have it. And I'm sure that's confusing to both children. Like, why are you taking my
Exactly.
stuff? Well, I'm not taking it. It's being handed to me. Just like the coat.
Ex- Exactly. I'm not bitter, but you're the one that got the coat.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Um, what was I going to say? I got distracted with the coat, picturing the picture that I have of you on my phone as the contact of you wearing a colorful coat. No, and so what was it like seeing, because you, and I don't know if you remember this, but being the youngest and then looking up, because I know looking down, yes, everything that you said, I saw that, I saw you getting all the privileges. Before you got sick, I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not getting the privileges? But then after you got sick, it's like, oh, forget about you. We need to keep her alive. So it was like two different childhoods, maybe? I don't know if childhoods, but two different versions. So I think often when people say, my brother and I were so different and we were all raised in the same house. Well, now we know it's very layered. And then for you, it's even double layered because you had two different lives from 0 to 11 and then 11 and on. And so those were just so completely different, really, but similar. I guess motive was different.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yep. I'm just thinking about like being favored. Like I remember before 11, I didn't get put in sports. I didn't go to games. That just wasn't something that happened for whatever reason. Maybe I wasn't interested. I have no idea. But I remember after getting sick, for many reasons, this is funny and ridiculous to me. I was put like on a basketball team. I can't walk. I'm in a wheelchair. I can't eat. I have a feeding tube. I can't stand. Like there's all these things I can't do. But I think because my lifespan seemed so short, our parents, or maybe just our mom, was desperate to get me into something fun or into some sort of community that she put me on this basketball team with my friends. And they would just say, oh, you can just be like our cheerleader slash mascot. And to me, that was like, this is so awkward. Like, I'm on the sidelines, barely alive. So to me, is that special treatment? I'm sure like some of our siblings were like, I'm not on any sports team. And yet here they are doing all these things for this, our youngest child. And to me, I didn't even like it. I didn't ask for it.
Exactly.
Or going to games. I remember I went to like a softball game, and our mom wheeled me to the game, like on an old school wheelchair, not like a motorized, like an old school wheelchair. I have like blankets, again, feeding tube, oxygen. I'm bald. I have like a scarf around my head. But she's so desperate for me to be maybe enjoying life or just getting the last tidbits of life that I can get. In my mind, I'm like, that's what's happening. From another person's perspective, I'm sure they're like, what about the rest of the kids? Like, they are alive and they are healthy and they're just sitting at home. Meanwhile, this kid's getting everything and anything, which both are true, but that would be hard to understand. If I'm 11 and we have a sibling that's 13 and 15, and you're 20, and our brother's 22, like those are all major ages to where you're still being so affected by what you're being taught. Not just like what you're learning, I guess, passively, but intentionally. Like, this is what you're learning. This is what love looks like. This is what you deserve. This is, so as we get older, like, okay, now me, what is it I deserve? What is it I put into the world when things have been done for me out of necessity, obligation, but also just because I didn't really have a voice. I couldn't really think because I had had strokes. Now what do I want? I don't know. And now I meet people, I'm like, oh, they'll do it. Of course. Of course I think they'll do it because I can't do it or I shouldn't do it. What if I get hurt? What if whatever? And that's taken a long time to be like, oh, I can make an effort. I can try. Because I don't know if we've even said, but I've also had back surgery. So the physical part of it, like, no, Bibi can't do that. She'll hurt her back. I don't even know if that's true. Like, thank you for being considerate, but I would like to try. So there's a lot there. A lot.
Oh, hot dog.
I know.
Yes, so much. I should have been writing down because you said so many good things. Something that you said is like that inner voice told you, I can't do it. Or at least, and you said, I didn't even know that I could or if I could. Mm-hmm. That's it. And that's birth order. That's what's happened to you medically. Mm-hmm. Everything's been done for you as the baby. And because you got sick. And then now growing up, even that kind of played into who you were attracted to.
Oh, totally.
How he shows up in your relationship, how he wants to do everything for you because he's firstborn.
Totally. Yes.
Woo!
Yes, exactly. I think about that often. Like, of course I'm married to Ruben. Like, obviously, we know I love Ruben. And we know that he is a godsend.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I know that I was attracted to him because he's a leader. Like, he does things and he's a caretaker. All the things that I'm used to, that's in his nature. So I think in order for us to have like a healthy dynamic, we both have to, I don't know, sacrifice or just kind of let down our old nature and say, yes, of course, I want to take care of you. At the same time, you also need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, I do need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And he doesn't ask it often, but when he does, I'm like, he's serious. I know he means business.
Mm.
So just that natural thing, like, yes, do everything for me, but also let me try this. Okay. So that's a hard balance for him too. Like she
Mm-hmm.
does want help, she doesn't want help, she can, she can't. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out too.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, yes. And that really speaks into like people that say, well, this is just who I am. This is how I am. I can't change. But for the both of you to be able to realize, yes, our nervous systems, let's say, were wired this way. That doesn't mean that's who I am at my core. And that doesn't even mean that's my personality or I can't change this. But you wanting to grow as a person and realizing, okay, this is what I was told growing up for multiple reasons in
Mm-hmm.
different scenarios, so layered, and fighting against that and saying, and I also want to see what's on the other side of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome.
Realizing there's another side of that. I think that
And
was
real,
step one. Yes.
yes. And so, like, I think, how did you realize that you had that inner voice in you saying that you can't do something? Like, did you hear the inner voice? Did you feel the inner voice? What was that like?
Mm, I would say I felt it. I just was always, I would say, pretty, with my back specifically, cautious. With everything else, I don't think I've ever been too cautious. I think my inner voice would say, and maybe I did hear it, you can't do that. And that can be translated in so many different ways for everybody. And I think because of our abusive past, mine was, you can't do that because you're not capable, not
Mm,
because you can't do that, like, be careful. You can't do that. You had strokes.
mm,
You're
mm,
dumb. You can't think about that. You can't figure it out. So, but then with my back, I would say that was more like initially it would hurt to do anything. So I thought I can't do that. And then when I would try, like when I thought I just need to try, I would go to an extreme. I would move furniture, I would do all the things, and then I couldn't move for the next week. Like,
mm,
okay, there's got to be a balance. And I think just doing it and learning the hard way is probably how it started to really be like solidified in my mind. Like, I can't do that. No in
mm,
between. No, maybe try
mm,
something small. And so I think once I did figure out, and still currently figuring out, um, maybe I can do that. And maybe I can tell Ruben, like, hey, can I try? And if I can't, you'll be here to help me. And that I would say has been my motto in life in general. Let me try. If I can't, I can ask for help. If
mm,
I can't, I can have support. So just, I would say a lot of different voices, maybe not a lot, maybe two, maybe mom and
mm,
dad, saying you can't do this because you're dumb. I would say that was our dad. You
mm,
can't figure this out. Meanwhile, in my mind, I would say with our mom, you can't do this. Like, you shouldn't do this. You're going to get hurt. So both in my mind, I can't, shouldn't.
mm,
It just kind of starts to get fuzzy.
mm,
Like, why can't I do it? I don't know, but I can't. I
mm.
can't even try. And then, oh yeah, yes, I can. So just multiple voices for sure.
And have you always been aware of them, or did you think, okay, I'm going to go into my rich inner world, as you call it, and see what's happening inside? Like, were you intentional about it, about hearing those voices, or did it just like come to you?
I think it came to me. I started listening to a podcast called Being Well, And I would
Love it.
say, yeah, such a good podcast. I would say when I started to listen to that, it did talk a lot about like inner monologue, what we say to ourselves, where does the voice originate? And so at that point, I started to realize like, oh, this isn't my own voice. Like, this is an adult's voice reminding me of what I can and can't do. And once I realized it wasn't my voice, I thought I need to figure this out for myself. I need to have my own limits with the help of people that know me, know my past, someone that can be gentle and loving, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. Like, let's do this slowly. Let's try. So I think that's where I started to realize I have an inner monologue and it's not always me talking. And I know when it's not me because it's very limited. And me for myself, I don't think I limit myself if it's not for that inner monologue. I like to try new things. I like adventure. I like to see. And so I think, oh, that's limiting. Okay, who is that? Or even like, is that Satan? Is that Satan isolating me and telling me like, you can't do this. Like you're so dumb. You can't, Like, okay, that's not of the Lord and that's not healthy. So then I think all the things, all the correct tools have helped me to get to where I am, to be able to kind of like pinpoint where that message is coming from.
That is so good. And that's so good that you have that insight, or that you were able to slow down enough to realize that you do have a rich inner world, and that you do have these voices. And thank God for being well, because they did teach you so much and they taught me so much. The brothers, as we call them. It's a podcast that's incredible, Being Well.
It's a father and son, and we call them the
Yes.
brothers because
Of course.
Maria Shriver.
That's right. And father son, which reminds me, quick segue, I do have ADHD, and so I just want to say that I will squirrel sometimes. And I squirrel because I think, so when we go out, people think, oh, are you guys twins? Oh, are you guys mother-daughter? Or, what is it? And we're going to say, oh no, we're father-son.
Someone yesterday, I will have to tell you about this in detail later. Someone yesterday that we both know, that we've known for 20 years, no, more, 30, long time, thought I was you.
Oh
This
my
person
gosh.
asked me how long I was in town for. I was like, oh, no, I live here. And she's like, since when? I said, since forever. And she's like, no, you've been here your whole life? I said, yeah. And I could just tell this person was so confused. I said, which sister do you think I am? And she's like, I know you're Bibi, but you look so much like Priscilla. Priscilla
No.
Kim Mao. And I was like, I thought so. And she's like, you look so much like her. I know you're not her, but I was so confused. I'm like, I know. Which I think we do look alike, but in my mind, I'm like, well, we're not brother son. Brother son.
Oh my gosh. Brother son. Yeah. Speaking
I just
of
thought
birth
that
order.
was so funny. Yes, exactly.
That is so crazy.
Yes.
Yes, I want to hear the details.
Yep.
So where I was going with that, I don't remember what I was saying.
We were talking about how people get us confused. You had segued.
We're the brothers, father, son.
We were talking about being well and how it's helped
Yes. Oh,
my rich
yes,
inner
your
world.
rich inner world. Okay, so I was listening or doing a training this weekend with this guy named Ryan Reyna. He's incredible. He teaches on attachment, specifically the theory theory that he uses is emotionally focused therapy. I love it because it is attachment theory based, which is my favorite. And I would like to talk more about it in a different podcast. But he was saying how, like, when you go through trauma, often you're so hyper vigilant that you can't discover your inner world because you can't go inside. You can't go internally because you're so focused on the external world. And from there, it's either you can either be too focused on the external world or go inside to your rich inner world. Either way, like, you didn't have someone that was curious about what was going on in your rich inner world or the lacking of an inner world. So a parent doesn't go in and say, hey, you know, what's going on with you? Or what are your thoughts? What are your opinions? And not being corrected, like allowing you to have thoughts and opinions of your own. That blew my mind. And I thought, wow, is this, like, that's why I was asking you, is this how, like, how was your rich inner world developed? How did you discover it? Because going based on that, on his thought or opinion, do you think that you developed your rich inner world because of that? Because I thought you got sick. Did you have a rich inner world before, or did that come after? Do you remember?
As you were talking, I did realize I think it started in the hospital, my rich inner world. And I think because I didn't have any other option or any other distraction, because I was so isolated and really left to my thoughts. And because I was so young, I was a kid, I wanted to play. Like, I wanted to have friends. I wanted to be outside. I think I started to develop that at 11, like after I don't know how long of being in the hospital. Just, yeah, like playing in my mind and having fun how I could. And like, I know I actually did play a lot with our mom, like how she's very creative, I would say. So even though I couldn't leave the room, like I think I went outside, gosh, very little, very, very little, just because I couldn't leave the floor because I was so critical. So, but the few times, like our mom and I would look out the window and she would tell me stories, or I would think of things like looking at the birds. So all these things, I think I did start to create that rich inner world when I was by myself.
That got me feeling all the feels. I'm so glad that you had mine, that she is so creative, and because it can be such a lonely place, is like what I hear, you know, having to play so internally that can be so lonely. So wow, that hit me so hard. Yeah, that's so incredible that you remember developing that rich inner world, because you couldn't do that. And like, the emotions that come up for me right now is like deep sadness and so much grief for you that you weren't able to play during that time. You didn't have a regular childhood. You had to develop these imaginary friends, and it just makes me think people that weren't in the hospital or didn't have a mom the way you did in those moments, like, that loneliness can be so real. Like, I think of our brother being so lonely and having to develop that rich inner world for himself. It's just so overwhelmingly sad and lonely. And I think that's part of this whole podcast, is that we do want to connect with those that might be feeling that way, that feel that they don't have anybody. Oh, loneliness is just so hard, so heavy.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so thank you for sharing that. That's so personal, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is personal, and I would say it's just very real. Like, if I stop to think about it, I think it seems very factual. Like if I let myself think about it, I have gone like I've processed like, gosh, that was sad or that was lonely. Um, but thinking about it now, I think I can feel like I'm 11 again. Like I think, oh my gosh, I do remember specific birds that we would look at or
Mm,
specific thoughts like about flying, like, oh, pretending I was the bird, like all the things. Like it, yeah, I think it is sad. It is hard.
mm-hmm.
And at the same time, like I am thankful that I've created that rich inner world because then that carried on to our home life and
Mm, mm,
wanting to escape that too. So, and maybe learning, I would say that comes for me with healthy and unhealthy thoughts, like wanting to escape. Maybe that's not an unhealthy thought. That is healthy and just the truth of wanting to escape pain.
mm.
Um, and I think with like learning that coping mechanism really, I would say kept me alive. Like being able to go into that rich inner world and yeah, imagining my inner people,
A
playing with
hundred
my inner
percent.
people. Yeah, it did a lot. It got me, I guess, to places where I wish I hadn't. Like I think I don't I got to a place where I didn't want to be internal. Like I don't just want to have that internal life. I want to have physical friends. I want to go out physically. I want to be out in the sun. Um, so I think that I can lean on that in moments where I don't need that anymore. But I'm glad I had it when I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it just makes me think of other lonely people. Like if they don't have that rich inner world, they can scroll on their phone
Hmm.
or they can read and just escape into books or they can escape into TV and, having the characters from Little House on the Prairie be their friends,
Yeah, totally. Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's so, I don't even know that we realize
Hmm.
when we are lonely the things that we're doing to keep us from being lonely.
Hmm.
And I think, jumping from one group of friends to another, and not really having that deep, intimate connection with somebody else, that can also be a way to escape. Or going to the grocery store and, having your friends be, the cashier.
Yep. Hmm. That's your only
It's,
connection.
yes. Yeah, changing yourself, being that chameleon, a social chameleon, jumping from
Hmm.
group to group and never really developing those deep relationships.
Hmm. Even staying in the same group and not
Yes.
developing, like keeping it
Oh,
superficial. That I just only know because I've also been there, also done that.
yes.
To where, like, I have friends. Yeah, we hang out all the time. But we may talk and they may think they know me, but there's so much there that I'm like, I can't just be like, oh, hey, what's up? My dad's in prison. Do you want to go there? It's not,
Exactly.
that's not really an inviting conversation for a new friend. I only know because I've also done that. So I
Yes.
think either keeping it superficial, diving deep, like there can be an order. Like, okay, I met
Yes.
you, you know me, let's get to know each other more, little bits at a time. Now here we go to the next level of friendship, next level. And then ultimately you find people you're safe with and you can share your life with them. But it can't be, I don't think it should be just all in one day, which
Exactly.
I've tried. I'm like,
Maria
either we're
Shriver.
not, yes, I'm not going to be your friend, or you will be my therapist.
Right.
Gird your
Because
loins.
exactly. Because it also can turn into, what is intimacy? And that's something that I love running groups on from the RRP group. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it in our
Hmm.
personal life, but here it's a group where we learn, or people will learn how to do relationships, because everything that you said is happening so often. So for example, I can either share my entire story, but then if they do something to make me mad, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm pissed. because that was dangerous, or I shouldn't say how I'm really feeling. But we think we're in these deep relationships when we're not. And I just think, okay, so am I able to tell you this hurt my feelings? Or I remember the one time that we, I can't remember the situation, but you told me that hurt my feelings. And to be able to say that hurt my feelings, and for me to receive it and be like, oh my gosh, not get defensive. Okay, tell me more. What did I do so that I can better understand? And then you told me what I had done to hurt your feelings. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I can totally see how I did that. And I think that's something that we didn't learn. And I don't even know why I went off on that tangent, but it just seemed appropriate at the time.
It made sense. Yeah.
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 It's just, birth order,
Communication.
relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How to communicate. Oh, I think because we were talking about how friendships are healthy. Like you start somewhere, you get to know them, next level, next level.
Yes.
And where we're sisters, we grew up together, and yet we didn't communicate growing up. So where we maybe should have been, could have been in our relationship, having communicated like, that hurts my feelings. That would have been awesome if we would have done that since childhood. But I think because that was such a first for me with you, it was gut wrenching. Like, okay, when I say, even though I didn't think it, my body did not feel safe voicing like, I didn't like this. Especially I think because we do have a good relationship, friendship, and we know that, what's the word? Like when we try and make things better, that we need to do that. We need to talk about it. But in my mind, not in my mind, in my body, it can feel like, if I say this, what if our relationship ends? Like, what if she cuts me off? Even though I know you're not going to. But because of our childhood, like, you wrong me, you're out. If I vocalize you've wronged me, you're out. Anything negative I say, you're out, I'm out. So even though I know, like, oh, this is Mal, I can tell her anything. My body's like, do not do that. This is dangerous. This is a zone you do not want to get into. And then once I did, I know that emotion, I was emotionally triggered for a long time. Like, I think we talked about it several times until I felt safe and like, oh, I can tell her this. And then it's just taken practice. And now I can tell you, like, maybe don't say that next time, or I would really like it if you respect this, whatever. And it's with ease now that I can just say, nah, that's not cool. Or can you do this? Like making requests. Now that's like, oh, this is what a healthy relationship is and can look like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So feeling unsafe in your body, you're going to be cut off. And that really speaks into attachment theory, which I totally love. So early on, somewhere, and you even said it, you learned that if I vocalize my needs, wants, my difference of opinion, you're going to be cut off. So that anxiety build is, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't tell somebody, don't do this. I can't make a request, because if I do, I'm going to lose connection. And like you said, it had nothing to do with me, but it started so long ago when, they say that our attachment style gets developed between the last trimester of being in our mother's womb up to 2 years. So between that time, somewhere along the line or along the road, you learned it's dangerous if I make a request. Dangerous meaning I'm going to lose connection with my primary caregiver. Typically it's the mom. And this is just a quick overview of attachment theory. I just thought you were describing it exactly. But you learned if I make a request, I'm going to lose connection. And connection can mean my mom's not going to come to me, or she's going to ignore me, or she's going to tell me that I'm being too much or too needy or not enough, or you're not asking right, or now you're going to have to go to your room because you're crying because you're asking and you're not getting what you need. You get sent off into your room. Now you're isolated And as a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, however old, that can feel like death because we have all of these emotions that we're born with, all of these bodily sensations that are saying, if I don't make connection with my primary caregiver, I'm going to die, because we need that connection with our parents or whoever's raising us as children. We are at our most vulnerable state. Isn't that crazy?
Yes. Yes. I've heard that, like, if babies, maybe we talked about this with Colin actually after the last episode, that if babies don't get touched, they will die. That connection. And I can imagine, like, the third trimester, you said, until 2, I imagine, like, naturally we're inside of our mother, and then naturally, and maybe some people wouldn't feel this way, but naturally I would say our mother breastfeeds us. So the physical connection is and should always be there. Let's say they breastfeed till they're 2. That makes sense. Like, that time is such a physical bonding time with your mother, I would say, ideally. So I can see why that would be the most crucial time that we would need with our primary caregiver.
Yes. This weekend in my training with Ryan Reyna, he said something that was so powerful. I want to read it. He said, trauma trains the brain to protect right at the time to connect. So we learn to protect ourselves. Like you said, I'm not going to do this because I need to protect the connection that we have. If I say something, I'm going to lose connection with her. Not because of anything that I've done, but because what your brain learned many, many years ago. And I'll say many, many, many. Not that you're old. I'm just kidding.
Just every decade.
Yeah,
Every
isn't that
many is
crazy?
for every decade. That is crazy. Crazy, crazy. That's a big statement that has so much meaning and is so powerful. And that is what, yeah, I think trauma does. Trauma trains us, you said? It trains, and I think it does. If we're trying to connect and we have trauma, obviously our brain needs to shift and do something so that we do feel protected. I think our brain
Exactly.
is always trying to keep us alive, ultimately.
Yes.
I
Yes,
think,
that's
of
our nervous
course.
system. That's the job of our brain, of our nervous system. We need to stay safe. We need to survive. And those are such big statements. You know, we need to stay safe and survive. We don't even realize that we're thinking that in moments of disconnection with our friends, with our partner. So if I feel like I'm disconnecting from my husband, now my brain's going to move into protection mode. How am I going to protect? What did I learn to protect myself? Am I going to pick a fight, which sounds ridiculous? Or am I going to withdraw? And all of these are trying to send signals to the other person. I'm losing connection and I'm scared. But we've learned that vulnerability is not okay to show. And so for you, in that moment when we were having our, I'm not going to say our first argument, but the first argument that we actually addressed where we got vulnerable with each other, you moved into protection mode, but you were able to move past that discomfort and say, I'm still going to have this conversation, because at some point you were learning that maybe it was safe to say, I don't feel okay with this.
I think you had a big part in that. So because you have given me space specifically to repair, to be vulnerable, and you stayed with it, and like you said, you didn't go into defensive mode, just like, oh my gosh, let me hear what she has to say. And I think, like we've talked about before with trauma, if something traumatic happens and nobody's there to help or to receive you then that's when it does become a trauma. And I think because you not only gave space, but you encouraged, you told me, like, no, tell me what it is, tell me what you're feeling. And then when I did say it, you validated. You said, you're right, I did do that. And what can I do now? And so I think that's what it takes. It takes two, like the person going through the trauma and what initially as a child should be your parent or somebody, being on the other end. And I think that's how we practiced. So if you say something to me, I can honor what you're saying and vice versa. So it's definitely not, sure, I think I can give myself credit for doing it, even though it was hard, even though I was uncomfortable, and also credit to you for helping me through that and being okay with being told like I didn't like that. And not being ashamed, like I wasn't shaming you, I was just vocalizing, because that can be another layer added.
You weren't shaming me, and I in turn didn't shame you for having those feelings, because shame runs in not just our family, but in our culture.
Yes.
The Mexican culture is a shame culture. And so to work through that, I think that's why the two of us being polar opposites, like you've taught me to slow down, to be more gentle, to not be so quick to respond. And I've maybe taught you to speak up. It's okay. Use your voice. And the two of us, without having a therapist there to like be the mediator, we were able to walk through that process, because I think that's so helpful in therapy. Like if a couple comes in and they're both activated, they're both protecting in that protective brain, they're not going to be able to hear either one of them. But the two of us have been practicing allowing each other to have that safe space. You gently correcting me or telling me, you might want to say that differently, me receiving it. I think that was very helpful in that situation.
That's awesome. I love that.
So thank you.
Thank you. I said that and it sounded very superficial, but thank you.
No,
Yeah,
same.
that's incredible. And I think this can be helpful for other people too, to know like we do come from a family and culture that communicates in such a shameful way. And we didn't stay there, which is, I think, crazy. We could have
Thank you,
stayed
Jesus.
there. Yes, thank you, Jesus. That could have been easily how we still communicate and say like, well, Mao never does this, or when Mao does that, and not being like, actually, in the Bible it says, go to the person who has wronged you. And to me, I'm like, that's terrifying. I'm not going to go to my father who's wronged me. That's scary. What if I get killed? I don't know. Worst case scenario, because that was a possibility. And now my body's telling me, don't do that. You might die. I'm like, okay, that's not true. So yeah, I think it's taken a lot, but I think it's so cool that we actually have gotten to where we are.
Amen. And you're saying exactly like a memory chain. So memories are tied by theme. I tell my clients that daily. And that memory chain for you got open, the theme of it's dangerous to go to somebody and speak my wants and needs. And so for you, I can't go to my father because I could possibly die. Not only did it feel like you could possibly die, but you could actually died. And so now that memory gets stored, and then the next time you share a memory and it's by theme, it gets logged or tied into this original one. And so then all these memories get tied in. And so now you're an adult, something similar happens, the memory chain gets open as if you're the 4-year-old, the 3-year-old, or whatever, trying to go to that adult parent or the person that's taking care of you. And it gets opened as if you're that age, and all the memories come flooding back. But we don't even know because we're moving so quickly. Crazy how our brain is so complex. Yeah.
Yes, that mind and body connection.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you do realize like, oh, that is a theme. Okay, this may not be the actual, like this may have a little portion of it. I may be reacting in like not with proportion.
Yes. Yes.
So yes, this did hurt me, but the emotion of it is like, wow, that's a little bit deeper. That goes to this, where I can still tell you, did that hurt my feelings? Of course. Can I tell you? Of course. Did it hurt as much as my body's reacting? The emotion is maybe inappropriate for that one thing, but appropriate for what has built from that thing,
Yep,
right?
exactly. Yes, yep. And for you to say, that hurt my feelings, for me, my inner voice goes right into, oh, there you go. You screwed it up. You're too much. Which it took me a long time to even realize that I had an inner voice. Like I didn't have the rich inner world. You escaped internally for multiple reasons, and I just stayed vigilant. I need to be attuned to what everybody else is doing, be 5 steps ahead so that I can try to stop the train that's going to, create disaster or chaos or whatever. And I think that, like, I realized I also have a couple of different voices. Like for me, it's, if it's an emotional situation, my voice will be, you're too much, you're too harsh, why would you say that? And then I have this other voice that I hear often, and I hear it when I'm riding my mountain bike, or really when I'm doing a task. And that voice is me, I think, like the true me, because as I make an obstacle that I've been trying, over and over and over to try to get, and then when I do make it internally, well, and sometimes even externally, I'll be like, yes, I've got this. Or I own the mountain. Like these are really things that I'm telling myself. Or even going into it, it's like, you've got this, you're going to get it, it's easy. And so that voice like comes in and, I listen to it, and then I'm able to do the obstacle. And then afterwards, I'm high-fiving myself mentally. Or like the other day, I realized I parked and our garage is super tight. So I had to park our car. Like I have to follow this black tape line that Cody put in for me. And I did it so easy. And I got out and I looked to see where the car was parked. Did I follow the line? Was I parked on it? And I was. And I'm like, the internal voice that came up was like, don't tell me I can't park. And I'm like, oh, such different voices. And I think that's me and not me. I thought, where did that voice come from? I'm fighting against some critical voice that's telling me that I can't do things or that I'm doing things wrong. And I thought that's interesting how we have these inner voices, and which voice are we listening to? And I think, like you said, when you were able to tell me that I had hurt your feelings, that inner voice wanted to come in even right now. Oh, see, look, you're too harsh. You're too much. And then I just have to tell myself, but I'm human. Like, yes, I'm learning to do something different, and I could be way harsher given the circumstances that we grew up in. And I think that that self-compassion can come in and be like, well, no, well, of course I reacted that way. It makes sense. And I don't have to do that anymore.
And knowing each other and knowing we have those inner voices from a very harsh past. Knowing like when I say this and I feel like I'm going to die, that's my past. And for you, like, I feel like I screwed up again. Like that's my past. That's not Bibi. And those are just things I remind myself of. Like, I would say mostly with Ruben because we live together. So he gets to see that beautiful side of me. And so I will remind myself, like, this is Ruben. Like, Ruben's gentle. Ruben's a good guy. Ruben has great intentions. His motive is always, always to take care of me and to love me. So I think when you do get to know somebody that deeply, that richly, then you can understand like, oh yeah, her motive is good for me. And that's what makes it easier to communicate and to say, here's what happened and here's what I perceived happened. And then you can get into it not having that like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst person, or oh my gosh, she's the worst person. It's just, oh, she's communicating something and the emotions are deep because we both share the same past, which is awesome. Like, who else better to do this with than with each other? because we do know the depth of what happened in our home, in the hospital, like all those details. We get it. And I think that's cool that we can do that together.
For sure. And like you're saying, motive, for a long time I thought people's motives are out to get me. They're being nice because they want something from me. And so it took time and time again for us to, or at least for me, like in our relationship as adults, you showed up continuously. You have my back over and over and over. And that was a corrective emotional experience where you showed me, and my nervous system was able to trust you. And so then you were able to say, or I was able to say, okay, she's bringing something to me. I hurt her feelings. And it's not because she wants to shame me that she's saying this. It's because I truly hurt her feelings. And that doesn't make me a bad person, which I believed for such a long time that inherently I was a bad person. And through our relationship, we've been able, or at least I've been able to realize that's not true.
And then realizing, like, if I didn't care about you, I wouldn't have said it. But because I want our relationship to be more functional, to be healthy, I will say something. And I think that should make you feel good about yourself. Like, oh, she wants a relationship with me because I am awesome, or because I'm a not, I didn't mess up again. She wants to keep this. So I think that is, to me, that would be motivating. Like, oh, of course she's telling me how I hurt her feelings because she wants to stay in this relationship because I am worth staying in the relationship with.
Yes. Yes. And when people don't have that, it can be so lonely.
Yes.
Right? Because I could isolate myself even more. I could withdraw. I could not trust you. Oh, I hurt her feelings. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not even going to try to be her friend. Bibi's too good for me. Because I'm hurting her feelings, I'm not even going to try to pursue this relationship because our wires get crossed and the loneliness can kick in.
Yes. Yes. And how we were talking about loneliness, like, I feel like that's a theme. We were talking about, like, the loneliness that being in the hospital brought for me, the loneliness that, like, when we do have to turn into our rich inner world, like, we're doing that to prevent loneliness or even staying out of a relationship. It's counterintuitive or counterproductive that I would feel like I'm not going to be in this relationship. It's too hard. And then it backfiring with loneliness. But then if I am in a relationship and it's not a healthy one, there is still loneliness.
Yes.
So how do we fight against that? What steps do we take practically to move out of loneliness? Because I think I know everyone at one point or another has felt lonely. And so I think for people listening, like, I do want to hear with your expertise, like, how can people, including myself, move towards not being lonely?
And that can be such a complex question because everybody's different. So even if we just take our situation or these two different personalities, one that's maybe more quiet and one that's more outgoing, it can look two different ways. So for example, if somebody's more outgoing but yet they're still lonely, is maybe joining a small group. If they don't have a church, finding a group that, if they like hiking, finding a hiking group. And then finding someone that consistently shows up and just noticing, okay, this person seems to be showing up. Maybe asking them, hey, do you want to go get coffee? Or if they're a more quiet person, more reserved, and joining a small group by themselves is like not a possibility. Even just joining, let's say, if you have a large group, let's say that you're in a church and you're not in a small group of that church, just maybe always sitting in the same spot. Okay, I'm going to see who's around me, just noticing. Even starting internally, what is my inner voice telling me? And if we can start to notice, let's say that they're a person that's more introverted, what's that voice telling me? Noticing that voice. That's such an easy place to start. It doesn't take so much risk. Oh my gosh, I'm going to put myself out there. What if I'm rejected? That's your inner voice. Okay, who said that? Whose voice is this? Is this true? Okay, it's not true. Okay, and if it's not true, what is one thing that I can do that fights against that? Pretty much exactly what you did.
Wow.
I often just tell my clients that their homework is just notice. Just notice what bodily sensations come up this week. And when are they coming up? If they don't know or they don't stop to think, setting an alarm on your phone, let's say for it to go off at 9 a.m. or 3 p.m. and it just goes off and just notice. Okay, are my shoulders tight? What are my thoughts? What's going on around me? There's an app called How We Feel. I don't know if I've mentioned it before or if I've sent it to you, but it can set a reminder to touch base with yourself. Okay, what am I feeling? And that can help you start recognizing, am I introverted? Am I extroverted? Do people give me energy? If I am lonely, what are things that I enjoy? Let's say I enjoy puzzles at home by myself. Okay, what if I look up on Facebook puzzle group? Okay, even reaching out on social media, maybe not taking the step of actually meeting the person because that can be a lot. Hey, I've noticed that you like puzzles. I do too. What kind of puzzles do you like? That all can also help. I think Facebook was made for people that are more introverted, where their social world, maybe actually like stepping outside and being with someone, can be really scary. But through social media, through Facebook, I think that is one of the positive things, is that we can find people that are like-minded and take a step and say, I'm going to fight this inner voice and take that step and message somebody today. That can help.
I think that's such good advice. Keeping it, you can keep it low stakes. Like, it doesn't have to be, I'm lonely. I have to go out and meet people every night. I have to go to parties. I have to go to large group gatherings. But yeah, starting low stakes and maybe even learning to trust yourself. So I think if I'm doing something low stakes and I see, oh, I went here, I stayed for 20 minutes, I was able to get out when I said I would, I start to trust myself. And then I can do it again. And then after I've trusted myself, then I'll start to trust people. Because I imagine with loneliness, there can come a sense of not trusting people. Otherwise, you probably would be out meeting people and trusting them. So I think if I'm lonely, low stakes, maybe meet someone on Facebook or maybe interact in that way a little at a time, and then take the next step. And then it's like, oh, okay, I can trust myself in this process. So then that can just build off of each other.
Yes. It's beautiful. I love that. As we're talking about this loneliness thing, it can be really helpful to, like, if we're putting ourselves out there and we're saying, hey, if there's anybody out there that's listening, connect with us. Like, I would really encourage you, or encourage anybody that's listening, if you are lonely, to connect with us. Leave a comment, ask us questions. We would love to connect with you, and we're here because loneliness is real. I know I've been lonely, and it's not a fun place to be.
I agree. I would echo that and say, yes, connect. I'm sure people can feel connected just by listening to it, but to actually like type something and say, hey, I would like to connect. And then from there we can figure out what that would look like.
Yeah, for sure. And having reach out to those around them, to family members if they're safe, or their neighbor, because maybe their neighbor is just as lonely as them. So that can also be helpful. So today I feel like we had a good conversation. I shed some tears. I knew that I would at some point in this podcast. And so if this resonates with anybody, like we're saying, connect with us, reach out, like, subscribe, follow us. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, and thank you so much for listening.